One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
First, we must choose to put technology at the service of humanity. Artificial intelligence is rewriting human existence in real time, transforming how we learn, work, communicate, and what we can trust. And the question is not how to stop it, but how to steer it for the greater good. Technology must be our servant, not our master. It must promote human rights, human dignity, and human agency. Yet today, AI's advancement in outpacing regulation and responsibility and is concentrated in a few hands. And the risks are expanding to new frontiers, from biotech to autonomous weapons. We are witnessing the rise of tools for mass surveillance, mass social control, mass disruption, and even mass destruction. Tools that can drain energy, strain ecosystems, and intensify the race for critical minerals, potentially stoking instability and conflict. Yet, these technologies remain largely ungoverned. We need universal guardrails and common standards across platforms. No company should be above the law. No machines should decide who lives or dies. No system should be deployed without transparency, safety, and accountability. Last month, this Assembly took a historic step, establishing an independent international scientific panel on AI and an annual global dialogue on AI governance. Two new pillars of a shared architecture, connecting science with policy to bring clarity and foresight, enabling innovation to flourish while advancing our values and our rights, and ensuring governments, companies, and civil society can help shape common norms. We must build on these mechanisms and close the capacity gap. All countries must be able to design and develop AI, not just to consume it. I have proposed voluntary financing options to build AI computing power, data, and skills in developing nations. No country should be locked out of the digital future or locked into systems it cannot shape or trust. And governments must lead with vision, and companies must act with responsibility. And we, the international community, must ensure that technology lifts up humanity. So let us choose cooperation over fragmentation, ethics over expediency, and transparency over opacity. Technology will not wait for us, but we can still choose what it serves. So let us choose wisely. Fifth and finally, to meet all these goals, we must choose to strengthen the United Nations for the 21st century. The forces shaking our world are also testing the foundations of the United Nations system. We are being hit by rising geopolitical tensions and divisions, chronic uncertainty, and mounting financial strain. But those who depend on the United Nations must not be made to bear the cost, especially now, when for every dollar invested to support our core work to build peace, the world spends $750 on weapons of war. This is not only unsustainable, it is indefensible. In this moment of crisis, the United Nations has never been more essential. The world needs our unique legitimacy, our convening power, our vision to unite nations, to bridge divides and confront the challenges before us. The Pact for the Future has shown your determination to build a United Nations that is stronger, more inclusive, and more effective. That is the logic and the urgency of our UN80 initiative. We are moving swiftly and decisively. I put forward concrete proposals, a revised budget for 2026 that strengthens accountability, improves delivery, and cuts costs. Practical reforms to implement mandates more effectively and efficiently with greater impact. And ideas to spark a paradigm shift in the structure of the UN and how its parts work together. Most of these decisions rest with you, the member states, and we will move forward in full respect of the established procedures. Together, let us choose to invest in a United Nations that adapts, innovates, and is empowered to deliver for people everywhere. Excellencies, my overriding message comes down to this. Now is the time to choose. It's not enough to know what the right choices are. I urge you to make them. I grew up in a world where choices were few. I was raised in the darkness of dictatorship, where fear silenced voices and hope was nearly crushed. Yet, even the bleakest hours, especially then, I discovered a truth that has never left me. Power does not reside in the hands of those who dominate or divide. Real power resides from people, from our shared resolve to uphold dignity, to defend equality, to believe fiercely in our common humanity and the potential of every human being. I learned early to persevere, to speak out, to refuse to surrender, no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, no matter the hour. We must and we will overcome. Because in a world of many choices, there is one choice we must never make, the choice to give up. We must never give up. That is my promise to you, for peace, for dignity, for justice, for humanity, for the world we know is possible when we work as one. I will never, ever give up. Thank you.
I thank the Secretary General. The Assembly will now turn to Agenda Item 8, entitled General Debate. "80 years, longer than the average human life. This anniversary of the United Nations should have been a moment of celebration. But this is not an ordinary year. Just look at the state of our world, as the Secretary General described. Thousands of orphans in Gaza are wandering around the rubble, eating sand, drinking contaminated water. 90-year-old women in Ukraine are hiding from drones, trapped in their homes instead of living their final years in peace. Children in Haiti, too afraid to walk to school, afraid they might be gunned down by gangs like their friends. And for every conflict and tragedy that seizes the headlines, there are so many more that are forgotten, lost to the news cycle. Like women in Democratic Republic of the Congo, shielding their daughters from armed groups, fearful they might be raped. And Rohingya children spending their whole childhood in tattered tents, unable to remember what their home looks like. Faced with these realities, now is not the time to celebrate, but to ask ourselves, where is the United Nations?
State of
Distinguished
Palestine.
heads of state and
Oh boy! So this is going to be fun. This is going to be very interesting. Good morning, everybody. Had to bump this up ahead of time because not really sure what the schedule of events is going to be, and obviously don't want to miss President Trump speaking to this viper's den of world leaders. Unfortunately, I don't know who these people are unless they announce themselves. I guess we're supposed to know that they're important. Obviously, I knew who the first guy was because that was the Secretary General of the United Nations. But I don't know who the lady is that's speaking now. From what I understand, let me just go ahead and let you guys know what the order of speakers is supposed to be today, and then we can take it from there. The orders of speakers is supposedly the Secretary General, this agenda item thing that they're working on. Then I believe Brazil goes first, as I was looking at it, and then number 2 was supposedly President Trump. But who knows? International intrigue here, and schedules may change. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to go on till 11, and then we were trying to figure out what the schedule was going to be, so we didn't want to miss it. So we're going to carry a lot of this. Again, President Trump may be the third speaker. We're waiting to see if he arrives with his entourage. I will have a different feed that shows people arriving, so we're not sure if he's even in the building yet. But in the interim, we're going to go back and forth while she's talking, since I don't know who she is. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, this is a big day for him, was on Fox and Friends this morning. So let's listen to Marco Rubio.
Just hours from now, President Trump will return to the United Nations to deliver a wide-ranging address, while also meeting with world leaders to discuss plans for a post-war Gaza.
All right, this comes as top allies to the United States formally recognize a Palestinian state, drawing swift criticism from Israeli leadership. So what does this mean ahead of this week's high-stakes summit?
Let's bring in the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Secretary, we were hoping that you can give us a preview. Apparently, the president wants his famous message of peace through strength today at the UN. What do you anticipate him saying?
Well, I think one of the things the president's going to have to address and is going to address is the UN itself. And that is, why do we still have a UN? It has tremendous potential. The UN is an organization that has the potential to do some great things around the world, but it's not doing it. If you look at Russia and Ukraine, you have a war going on there. It's the president that's been carrying the burden of trying to bring it to an end. The UN is playing no role. If you look at what's happening in Gaza with Hamas and everything that's happened there with Israel taking them on, what role is the UN playing? None. We're going to try here, and even as close to home in the Western Hemisphere, in a place like Haiti, that's been overrun by gangs that control that country and has destabilized the region. The U.S. is asking for the UN to step up and play a very important role. We have a lot of support, but it looks like China might stand in the way of this effort to bring that about. The UN will play no role if they do that. So I think what the president's going to do is challenge the UN to find its meaning and its purpose and its utility as an organization, because it doesn't seem to be doing the job, and it's pretty good at spending a lot of money. I think you can anticipate the president will point to his own history with the UN, going back to his time here as a developer, where he actually offered to fix the UN building, and instead they chose to go in another direction, wasted a bunch of money, and really didn't achieve on the building's perspective what needed to happen. And I think it's emblematic of how feckless the UN has become as an organization. It's just a place where once a year a bunch of people meet and give speeches and write out a bunch of letters and statements, but not a lot of good, important action is happening. So again, the UN has a lot of potential, but it's not living up to it right now.
So the Turkish leader Erdogan sat down with Brett Baer yesterday. We got two topics to talk to you about that, one of which was asked about the war in Russia. He's basically, he's indifferent, likes both guys, and in Gaza. But he seems to take a shot at President Trump. Listen.
Ben sadece şunu söyleyeyim.
I can only say this. Mr. Trump, you might remember he's used a term
Ukrayna savaşını
when
ben bitiririm.
he said, I will finish the Russia-Ukraine war.
Bitti mi?
Did it end?
Hala devam ediyor.
It still goes on.
Aynı şekilde
Similarly,
Gazze savaşını ben bitiririm.
he said, I will finish the war in Gaza.
Bitti mi?
Did it end?
Hayır.
No. That means
Demek ki
once we start analyzing the issue, there are prices to pay.
faturalar ödeniyor.
And when we look at the hostage exchange, that was done. It goes on.
So he says the president doesn't get it done. This is a NATO ally. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I didn't hear the entirety of the interview. I can only tell you that on both of those issues, on the case of Russia, Ukraine, the only leader in the world that has any chance of bringing it to an end is President Trump, which is why he has put more time and energy into it than anybody else. All of these other countries, including Turkey, by the way, are begging us to be involved. They want us to be involved. Look, these people go out and say what they want to say, but at the end of the day, when they want something done, they want to come to the White House. President Erdogan is coming to the White House this week to meet with the president. They all come to the White House. They all want to speak to President Trump. They all want President Trump to fix it. So they can say whatever they want to say. The truth of the matter is that we have leaders, we have meetings going on today that we have leaders begging to be a part of it. They are calling, saying, can we be included? Can you bring us in? Can you get me 5 minutes to shake the president's hand? He is the indispensable leader in the world right now. He is the only one who has any chance of not just brokering a deal to end the war with Russia and Ukraine, but also bringing about the war that's going and getting all the hostages released in Gaza. And I think he's put more time and energy into peace proposals and peace initiatives than anybody else in the world. And he's had the most success of anybody else in the world. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but let's not forget the DRC and Rwanda had a war going on. It's the president that's brokered that. Azerbaijan and Armenia. It's the president that brought that about. Thailand and Cambodia. Right. It's the president that brought that end of that about. India and Pakistan. That's just four right off the top of my head in the last few months. And the president's the one that did that, not any other leader in the world, and not the UN.
Mr. Secretary, Fox is exclusively reporting that Hamas wrote a letter directly to President Trump asking for a pause in fighting for 60 days in exchange for half of the hostages. Do you know if this letter has been delivered yet? And will the president entertain this idea?
I don't know who they gave that letter to. It wouldn't have mattered, though, because the president's been clear, and that is that we haven't seen the letter. We don't have that letter. And even if we did, it wouldn't matter. The president has already made clear he's not interested in 60 days, 10 people. He wants all the hostages out, all 48, including the 20 who are alive, the 28 who are deceased. He wants them all out. There should have never been any. Why are we even talking about hostages? Why do we still have to talk about hostages at this point? There shouldn't be any. They should all be released immediately. Period. That's the president's position. So he would have rejected that offer had it come, but we haven't seen that letter. I think they gave it to the media or somebody, but they haven't given it to us.
Mr. Secretary, the president said the final warning to Hamas. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, you've got Israel is right at the doorstep of Gaza City. I mean, they've begun an operation to go in. And all of the leaders of Hamas, all of the main leaders inside of Gaza and Hamas are all concentrated in Gaza City. It may take a while, but they're not going to survive the Israeli push. Now, what we would hope to see is that it doesn't have to happen because Hamas surrenders, they lay down their arms, they release all the hostages, and then the important work of sort of rebuilding Gaza and providing a place where Palestinians can live prosperously and peacefully, that work can begin. But that work can't begin until the hostages are released and Hamas no longer exists. And so the sooner that happens, the sooner peace will begin.
I want to make sure to get this in because I know your time is tight. You were brilliant, as in so many speakers, saluting the life of Charlie Kirk. Here's a little of the moments a lot of people are talking about. Watch.
Because he took on that death, because he carried that cross, we were freed from the sin that separated us from him. And when he returns, there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and we will all be together, and we are going to have a great reunion there again with Charlie and all the people we love.
It looks like that was coming from the heart, not the prompter. Can you bring us back to that moment?
Well, look, Charlie, I think what makes this situation so unique is that Charlie Kirk wasn't just a figure involved in American politics and a political discourse. Charlie was a friend to a lot of people in the White House and a lot of people in this administration, like on a personal level. He's someone that I had just been interacting with just a few days before he died because he was in South Korea and was eager to come back home and tell me what he had seen while he was there. And a lot of other people, the vice president was very close to him personally, a lot of members of the staff. So I think it adds a new element to this. Obviously, this is a major story, a horrific tragedy, and before everyone in the age of social media, everyone saw it instantly. And so I think it impacted people across the country, but I think it had a particularly special impact in addition to all of that because of the personal connection here. And I thought that on Sunday was a very unique opportunity for many of us, not just to pay tribute to the life that Charlie Kirk lived, but the way he lived it and the core of his message. And his faith was at the core of his message. I think Charlie, if he was here to say that politics is important, what we do in government is important, these debates on issues are important, but the most important thing of all is our faith and our family, and Charlie lived that, and he believed it, and it was at the core of his message. He had an extraordinary amount of wisdom for a 31-year-old young man. He really did. I mean, it usually takes a lifetime to acquire the kind of wisdom that he had.
And the president did a beautiful job speaking there, and so did his wife. The president, what is his reaction? What's the administration's reaction about our allies? We have France, we have the UK, we have Australia and Canada recognizing the Palestinian state. What does that say about our influence?
Well, these countries are doing it, frankly, because of domestic political pressure in their own countries. You know, because of migration policies, their countries have been flooded with foreigners who have become politically active and are insisting that their governments do these sorts of things. And so that's what they're responding to. But look, it's irrelevant. It's going to get a little bit of attention, but there is no Palestinian state. You can put all the, it's kind of an emblematic of what the president says about the UN. You can put out all the paper in the world you want. The only way there's ever going to be a permanent solution to this challenge between Palestinians and Israelis is a negotiated settlement, one in which the Palestinians are going to have a territory and they're going to govern it, but it cannot be one that's going to be used as a launch pad for attacks against Israel. And that's something that has to be negotiated with Israel. It isn't going to exist without Israel's participation. That's what these leaders should have spent their time working on, ending this war, eliminating Hamas, so you can get to that stage of talks about that topic. But for them, and for some of them in particular, more than others, it's sort of a vanity project that's trying to make themselves relevant. But here's the bottom line, and here's the truth. Okay, when it comes to actually getting peace done, when it comes to actually stopping this, they're not going to any of these other countries. Of course. They're coming to us, they're going to President Trump, and they're asking him to get involved and bring it to an end. You just asked me about a letter to from Hamas. Hamas didn't send a letter to France. Hamas didn't send a letter to any of these countries on your list. Hamas apparently, supposedly, sent a letter to President Trump because everyone knows, even an evil group like Hamas, that he's the only one with the power and the influence to make something happen.
It's such a good point, and I don't want to put you in a bad position, but do any of these countries ever tell you why they're not willing to accept any of the refugees that's coming from Gaza, from the Palestinian Authority? Because we hear publicly sometimes, what do they say?
They say, well, we can't take any more people. We already have too many. They say, frankly, what any country should say, which is, in fact, I think if they won't say it publicly, but they'll say it privately, and not just these countries in Europe. I mean, the countries in the Middle East. Look, it's not like every country in the Middle East is raising their hand and saying, okay, we'll take 100,000 refugees. It goes back to the migratory debates we've had in this own country. I mean, every country in the world thinks open borders is crazy. Egypt does not have open borders. Jordan does not have open borders. Europe does, or has had for a long time. But none of these countries, most countries in the world do not have open borders because it's crazy. It's lunacy. And only we had that under President
Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil. I request
President Trump and Melania have arrived. They're in the building. All right, here we go.
Buki, Mr. Secretary General Antonio Guterres, dear heads of state and government, and representatives of the member states gathered here. This should be a time to celebrate the United Nations. Created at the end of the war, the UN symbolizes the
Okay, let's go.
Arbitrary sanctions and unilateral interventions are becoming the rule. There is a clear parallel between the multilateralism crisis and the weakening of democracy. Authoritarianism is strengthened when we fail to act in the face of arbitrary acts, when the international society falters.
All right, so President Trump and Melania and White House entourage are in the building in the United Nations. I'm loving working all these different feeds. It's absolutely awesome. So right now, everybody is texting me. Yep, we got it. I got the feed of him coming in. As soon as we have a feed of him being seated, I will absolutely take that as well. And we'll see where things go. And then we'll also obviously take when he speaks. Let me finish that. I only had like 2 minutes left with Marco Rubio.
Biden, and now that's been fixed. Right. And I think the president will point to that in his speech today. America had a migratory crisis unlike any in the world, and we fixed it very quickly under President Trump.
All right, real quick, Mr. Secretary, what are you going to do about the Russian breaches into NATO territories? They need a muscular response. I haven't seen any.
Well, NATO is responding the way it should. If a drone comes in over your airspace, you shoot it down. That happened. We've seen flights, and this is not new, by the way. This has happened, maybe not at the frequency we've seen, but a Russian jet or a Russian bomber goes into your defense zone. You send your planes up there to intercept it. That's been happening. We've had to do that off the coast of Alaska repeatedly in many cases. So NATO is going to respond. Yesterday at the United Nations, his first day on the job, Mike Waltz, our new ambassador here, spoke at the Security Council. He made clear our position, which is that when it comes to NATO, we're going to defend every inch of it. It's an important alliance. You know, we had the best NATO summit maybe in history just a few months ago, in which with President Trump there, all these countries made their 5% pledge, except for one, Spain, who doesn't want to do it. But and you know what? At the end of the day, that issue is what it is. On the Russia-Ukraine war, look, no one has worked harder or done more to bring this to an end. And it appears Putin may not be serious about peace. The president has expressed his deep disappointment about it, and he knows what his options are at some point here to have to impose additional costs. But he's also said that before we do that, Europe needs to do it. They're demanding all these things of us, and yet you have countries in Europe still buying massive amounts of oil and natural gas from Russia and funding and fueling the Russian aggression campaign. So I think it's important for them to step up.
All All right, so as you saw, President Trump is in the building. There is a tweet that was just posted like 5-6 minutes ago by Caroline Levitt. The tweet says, President Trump will be taking the stage shortly at the United Nations General Assembly. This will be one of his biggest foreign policy speeches yet. The world is going to see what American strength looks like. The globalists will be on notice. Yeah, they are, because at this point, what we're seeing is that these globalists think that their way is the way. You're going to hear some speeches today. Well, maybe you won't. Maybe we'll just play one or two after President Trump gets done, because then he's coming back on at 1 o'clock with a multilateral meeting. So we'll take that as well. And then tonight at 7:30, President Trump is doing some sort of a banquet. So we got a long day ahead. A lot of stuff to talk about. Another tweet by Caroline Trump to give a, quote, tough talk on globalism failures while highlighting the return of American strength at the United Nations General Assembly. All right, so we're waiting for President Trump to come up. While we're waiting, let me talk to you a second here about one of our sponsors today, and that sponsor is Kimchi One. All right, so microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives and our bodies. Scientists estimate that we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week through our food, our water, and even the air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples. Nobody is safe from exposure, and it even gets worse. These plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross into your gut lining, they leach into your blood, into your brain, and they disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter gut bacteria, to suppress your immune response, and increase your risk for neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disorders, and cancer. Some plastic toxins like BPA and phthalates mimic hormones. They interfere with fertility and damage DNA. Even if you eat clean or avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed. You can't get away from it. You can't opt out. But your gut can help you fight back. Kimchi One from Brightcore Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. Let me show you something that we're talking about here. And when you take Kimchi One, it's packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down the bad toxins like BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just help support digestion, it helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools. And the right tools, one of them would be Kimchi One. And today you can get a 25% off discount with the code BARRY by clicking the link in the description. Or for an even better deal, you can call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738. Again, that is 888-418-6738. All right, thank you guys at Brightcore. There's a whole lot of stuff happening. The other guy's still speaking. And I understand SB just hit me up that I don't know how he's doing it, but President Trump posted something on Truth Social. Let me bring that to you as well. This is a big one. A lot of stuff going on in here. Man, what a day. It started off early. I'm sorry I had to jump the gun. I would plan on going at 11. The schedule got changed over, so I had to make sure I was ready. Here's what President Trump posted. After reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for newcomers, a monumental cost, force taxpayers to fund transformative surgeries for minors, have dead people on the Medicaid rolls, allow newcomer criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits, try to force our country to allow men to play in women's sports, and essentially create transformer operations for everybody for free. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and a popular vote. In a historic landslide, he won, absolutely. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out. They are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion Rural and Vulnerable Hospital Fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. And I will add, they don't care. All congressional Democrats want to do is enact radical left policies that nobody voted for: high taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transformative surgery, and much more. Few people voted for what they represent, which will lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense. And that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them if they get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in the letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it will just be another long and brutal slog through the radicalized quicksand. To the leaders of the Democrat Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. He's not kidding. I mean, at this point, these people are doing nothing to help America. They are doing everything they possibly can to continue to divide us. They're doing everything they possibly can to trash everything that people stand for, calling us Christian nationalists like that's some sort of insult. They've lost the narrative completely. There's no way they can win anything in the way they're going. They're vile, they're demonic, they're sick in the head. And unfortunately, I think President Trump is going to see a bunch of that today at the United Nations. You know, listening to some of these people talk, it's all they can talk about is globalism. And he's the one guy, maybe Javier Milei there from Argentina, but there's just a few people there who are like, no, we want to save our countries. I don't know if you know this, but I think it was England and France and a couple other countries have decided now that Palestine is its own state. Good luck with that. President Trump's not going to go for it. Not going to go for it at all. So I don't know where they're going to go with it. So let's take some more from, I wish they put up the names of who was talking, but nope, there's no name. So I think this may be Brazil. I will check and see if I can do facial recognition or something. But let's listen in.
Bombs and nuclear weapons will not protect us from the climate crisis. The year of 24 was the warmest already registered. COP30 in the city of Belém, Brazil, will the COP of truth. It will be the time for world leaders to prove the seriousness of their commitment to the planet. Without a complete picture of the NDC's nationally determined contributions, we were walking blindfolded towards the abyss. Brazil has committed to reducing its emissions by 59% and 67%, covering all greenhouse gases and all sectors of the economy. Developing nations face climate change while grappling with other challenges. Meanwhile, rich countries enjoy a standard of living reached at the expense of 200 years of greenhouse gas emissions, demanding greater ambition and greater access to resources and technology. It's not a matter of charity, but of justice. The race for critical minerals essential for energy transition cannot reproduce the predatory and asymmetrical logic that has characterized recent centuries. In Belém City, the world will learn about the reality of the Amazon, Brazil has already reduced deforestation by half in the region in the last 2 years. Eradicating it requires ensuring decent living conditions for its millions of inhabitants. Promoting sustainable development is the objective of the Tropical Forest Forever facility, which Brazil intends to launch to compensate countries that keep their forests standing. But the time has come to move from the negotiation phase to the implementation stage. The world owes a lot to the regime created by the Climate Convention. Climate change needs to be brought to the heart of the UN so that it gets the attention it deserves. A council linked to the General Assembly with the power and legitimacy to monitor commitments provide coherence to climate action. This is a fundamental step towards a broader reform of the organization, which would also include an expanded Security Council in the 2 member categories. Few areas have worsened as much as the multilateral trading system. Unilateral measures have rendered fundamental principles, such as the most favored nations clauses, meaningless. They have disrupted value chains and threw the global economy into a pernicious spiral of high prices and stagnation. It is urgent to refound the WTO based on modern and flexible foundations. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year, the world lost 2 exceptional public figures. Former Uruguayan President Pepe Mujica and our dear Pope Francis, both embodied the best humanist values like no other. Their lives were intertwined with the 8 decades of the UN's existence. If they were still among us, they would use this platform to remember that authoritarianism, environmental degradation, and inequality are not relentless, that the only ones defeated are those who stand idly by, resignate, and that we can defeat the false prophets and oligarchs who exploit fear and monetize hate, and that tomorrow is made of daily choices, and it takes courage to act to transform it. In the future that Brazil envisions, there is no room for the reenactment of ideological rivalries or spheres of influence. Confrontation is not inevitable. We need leaders with clear visions who understand that the international order is not a zero-sum game. The 21st century will be increasingly multipolar. For it to remain peaceful, it cannot fall to multilateral. Brazil is giving increasing importance to the European Union, the African Union, ASEAN, CELAC, BRICS, and the G20. The voice of the Global South must be heard. The UN has today almost 4 times more members than the 51 who were at its foundation. Our historic mission is to make it once again a barrier of hope and a promoter of equality, peace, sustainable development, diversity, and tolerance. May God bless us all. And thank you very much.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Donald Trump, President of the United States of America. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. Hello, Madam First Lady. Thank you very much for being here. And Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, First Lady of the United States, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and world leaders. 6 years have passed since I last stood in this grand hall and addressed a world that was prosperous and at peace in my first term. Since that day, the guns of war have shattered the peace I forged on 2 continents. An era of calm and stability gave way to one of the great crises of our time. And here in the United States, 4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters. 1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America. We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity we inherited from the previous administration, including ruinous price increases and record-setting inflation like we've never had before. Under my leadership, energy costs are down, gasoline prices are down, grocery prices are down, mortgage rates are down, and inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high 48 times in the last short period of time. Growth is surging, manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that, almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, we have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion. Think of it, 4 years, less than $1 trillion, 8 months, much more than $17 trillion is being invested in the United States. And it's now pouring in from all parts of the world. We've implemented the largest tax cuts in American history and the largest regulation cuts in American history, making this once and again the best country on earth to do business. And many of the people in this room are investing in America, and it's turned out to be an awfully good investment during this 8-month period. In my first term, I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the best economy ever, history of the world. And I'm doing the same thing again, but this time it's actually much bigger and even better. The numbers far surpass my record-setting first term. On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion. And for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been 0. Hard to believe, because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means. I want to thank the country of El Salvador for the successful and professional job they've done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country. And it was under the previous administration that the number became record-setting, and they're all being taken out. You have no choice. And other countries have no choice, because other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country, and you have to do something about it. On the world stage, America is respected again like it has never been respected before. You think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 1 year ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. At the NATO summit in June, virtually all NATO members formally committed to increase defense spending, at my request, from 2% to 5% of GDP, making our alliance far stronger and more powerful than it was ever before. In May, I traveled to the Middle East to visit my friends and rebuild our partnerships in the Gulf and those valued relationships with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, and other countries are now, I believe, closer than ever before. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives. We saved millions and millions of lives with the 7 wars. And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me to testify before them on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between $2 and $4 billion as opposed to $500 million with a guarantee. But they had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger. Very sad to see. Whether the UN can manage to play a productive role, I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history. There is no more serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why, shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything. No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them. But we did something that for 22 years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now. Thank you. Thank you. As we have got to come together, and we will come together, get it done, we have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate, immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2 and 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2, and then another 2, and then 1, and then 3, have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back, too. Those parents came to me, and they want them back, and they want them back very quickly and very badly, as though they were alive. They want them. They want them every bit as much as if their son or daughter were alive. I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days, but it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week, and they've been fighting for 3.5 years and killing anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides every single week, from 5,000 to 7,000 dead young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened to the United States, and look where we are right now in just a short period of time. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth. As we seek to reduce the threat of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25,000, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe, in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border, and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved, because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed. And it was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death. Loaded up with death. Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles to get up. They go through jungles, they go through areas so hot you couldn't breathe. They were dying of suffocation, areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over. By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. My people have done a fantastic job in doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is what we've done on the economy. Joe Biden's policies empowered murderous gangs, human smugglers, child traffickers, drug cartels, and prisoners from all over the world. The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States on the Biden watch, many of whom have been raped, exploited, and abused, and sold. Sold. Nobody talks about that. The fake news doesn't write about it. With many others, young children who are missing or dead. And we found a lot of these children, and we're sending them back, and we've been sending them back to their parents. They said, nobody knows who they are. They said, where do you come from? And they'll give us a country, and we'll find out, and we'll figure it out, and we'll bring them back to their homes. And the mother and father rush to the door, and their tears in their eyes. They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or daughter again. We've done almost 30,000 of them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about. In America, those days, as you know, are over. The Trump administration is working, and we are continuing to work to track down the villains that are causing this problem, and also, as I said, to get back the 30,000 we've already returned. Now I think we're going to have another. We're going to find a lot. You're not going to find all of them. 300, more than 300,000. They're lost or they're dead. They're lost or they're dead because of the animals that did this. To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as and you see this, and you see it happening right before your eyes. Let's put it this way, people don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly anymore. And we've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist organizations, along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. And for this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice. Can't let it happen. They're destroying. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs, 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad, so expensive to operate. And they have to be rebuilt all the time, and they start to rust and rot. Most expensive energy ever conceived, and it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. And I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green, and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in, and they went back to where they were with fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. It's now safe, and you can do it properly. But they went back to where they were, and they opened up a lot of different plants, energy-producing plants, and they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that. They've said this is a disaster, what's happening. They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents. And it's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in New York City. I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down. And by the way, speaking of crime, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's after 12 days, it's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen. My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard, and the National Guard took care of business. And they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails. Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant, and we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle. We'll walk right over there from the White House. They've given up their powerful edge, a lot of the countries that we're talking about, in oil and gas, such as essentially closing the great North Sea oil. Oh, the North Sea, I know it so well. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe, and there's tremendous oil that hasn't been found in the North Sea. Tremendous oil. And I was with the Prime Minister I respect and like a lot, and I said, you're sitting with the greatest asset. They essentially closed it by making it so highly taxed that no developer, no oil company can go there. They have tremendous oil left, and more importantly, they have tremendous oil that hasn't even been found yet. And what a tremendous asset for the United Kingdom. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening, because I told it to him 3 days in a row. That's all he heard. North Sea oil, North Sea, because I want to see them do well. I want to stop seeing them ruining that beautiful Scottish and English countryside with windmills and massive solar panels that go 7 miles by 7 miles, taking away farmland. But we're not letting this happen in America. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
Right to
Climate
their face.
change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. You cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are just unbelievable, and you have it too. But you know, we have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we do, we have very clean air. We have the cleanest air we've had in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. Same thing with garbage. In Asia, they dump much of their garbage right into the ocean. And over about a 1 week and 2 week journey, it flows right past Los Angeles. You've seen it. Massive amounts of garbage, almost too much to do anything about, flowing past Los Angeles, past San Francisco, and then somebody will get in trouble because he dropped a cigarette on the beach. The whole thing is crazy. The primary effect of these brutal green energy policies has not been to help the environment, but to redistribute manufacturing and industrial activity from developed countries that follow the insane rules that are put down to polluting countries that break the rules and are making a fortune. They're making a fortune. European electricity bills are now 4 to 5 times more expensive than those in China, and 2 to 3 times higher than the United States. And our bills are coming way down. You probably see that our gasoline prices are way down. You know, we have an expression, drill.
Nós reduzimos os custos de energia porque nós faremos como expressão, vamos fazer tudo isso, reduzir os custos de energia e os custos diminuíram nos Estados Unidos.
Common to see one.
Por exemplo, se você olhar nos países em faturas de energia, nós não aclimatizamos. É porque é muito caro também usar nada e ninguém usa. Tudo isso a esse agenda mundialista.
All right, so this is some bullcrap. So what they're doing is stopping everything he's saying so they can interpret it to other people. I'm going to look for a clean feed where it's just, us. But be right back.
Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter. In the United States, we want trade and robust commerce with all nations, everybody. We want to help nations. We're going to help nations. But it must also be fair and reciprocal. The challenge with trade is much the same with climate. The countries that followed the rules, all their factories have been plundered. It's really sad to watch. They've been broken. They've been broken by countries that broke the rules. That's why the United States is now applying tariffs to other countries, and much as these tariffs were for many years applied to us, uncontrollably applied to us. We've used tariffs as a defense mechanism under the Trump administration, including my first term, where hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs were taken in. And by the way, we had the lowest inflation, and now we have very low inflation. The only thing different is that we have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into our country. But this is how we will ensure that the system works for everyone and is sustainable into the future. We're also using tariffs to defend our sovereignty and security throughout the world, including against nations that have taken advantage of former U.S. administrations for decades, including the most corrupt, incompetent administration in history, the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Brazil now faces major tariffs in response to its unprecedented efforts to interfere in the rights and freedoms of our American citizens and others, with censorship, repression, weaponization, judicial corruption, and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you, I was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? We actually agreed that we would meet next week. We didn't have much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk, we had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign. But also in the past, Brazil, can you believe this, unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back, and we're hitting them back very hard. As president, I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights of American citizens. So I'm very sorry to say this, that Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence, a testament to enduring power and American freedom and spirit. We will also be proudly hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and shortly thereafter, the 2028 Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. I hope you all come. I hope that countless people from all over the globe will take part of these will be great celebrations of liberty and human achievement, and that together we all can rejoice in the miracles of history that began in July 4th, 1776, when we founded the light to all nations. And it's something really that an amazing thing came out of that date. It's called the United States of America. In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values really that we hold so dear together. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary. In closing, I just want to repeat that immigration and the high cost of so-called green renewable energy is destroying a large part of the free world and a large part of our planet. Countries that cherish freedom are fading fast because of their policies on these two subjects. You need strong borders and traditional energy sources if you are going to be great again. Whether you have come from north or south, east or west, near or far, every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. From London to Lima, from Rome to Athens, from Paris to Seoul, from Cairo to Tokyo and Amsterdam to right here in New York City, we stand on the shoulders of the leaders and legends, generals and giants, heroes and titans who won and built our beloved nations, all of our nations, with their own courage, strength, spirit, and skill. Our ancestors climbed mountains, conquered oceans, crossed deserts, and trekked over wide open plains. They charged into thunderous battles, plunged into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers and warriors and explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires. You're a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is a part of it in your own way. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight, fight, fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship and really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace and a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before. That can happen. It will happen. It will happen, and I hope it can happen and start right now, right at this moment. We'll turn it around. We're going to make our countries better, safer, more beautiful. We're going to take care of our people. Thank you very much. It's been an honor. God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much. Bye.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the United States,
Half the room just got up and left. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh my goodness. That's it. We're done. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all we were here for. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. Order. I'll see you later. Oh gosh. Sorry, we're done. We're done. We just got spanked. We've got diapers to change. Oh, please come back. Order. Oh, they all left. What are we gonna do now? Oh God. Oh, it's all over. It's all over. What are we gonna do? He's gonna destroy us. Oh God. Whoa, what do we do now? Ooh, my goodness. Oh boy. Oh, that made me feel good. Our president walked in there, You tried to mess with the escalator. You almost made his wife fall down. You messed with his teleprompter. Thank God he didn't touch the water. Then you interrupted him talking and putting some other language up. And then he said, spanky, 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 and F you and goodbye. Oh my gosh. Oh, and half the room just, and they're still trying to get order. Please come back. Oh, ringing the bell. Please come by, sit in your seats. Oh my gosh, we're done here. Oh, please come back, please. Oh, please come back. Nothing to see here. Everything is fine. Oh my gosh. Oh. You talk about a mic drop. They had to send the lady out with the little bells. Get back in your seats. Oh my goodness. OMG. They're still leaving. Oh, let this sink in. Just let all this just order. I demand order.
Please be seated. Please be seated.
Oh gosh. Oh, she's still running around ringing the bell. Nothing to see here. All is well. President Trump with the mic drop. It wasn't a mic drop. It was a mic slam. Take that and stick that in your UN cigar and smoke it. Oh, I've never. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm not. No reason to cover any more of that. Whoo. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen anything like that? In your lifetime, have you ever seen a president of the United States walk into the United Nations and eviscerate them from head to toe, right in their faces? Everything you're doing is effed. Everything you're getting is effed. Your windmills, yeah, they're worthless.
Excellencies, could you please take your seats in due respect to the next speakers?
Oh, who cares about the next speaker? The next speaker's going to be talking.
Row, could you please take your seat right now?
We're with him. We're with that guy. We got to go where he going, cause y'all crazy, all right? Oh my goodness. Oh my, you're done. Just go ahead and start playing taps. I don't have a bagpipe. How about this one? Oh my goodness. Invite these people. I can't. I just can't. This was too much. Take your little belly thing. I gotta clip this now. I gotta clip this. This is gonna be another one. This is gonna be the mariachi. Oh my God.
Please take a seat now. With due respect to the next speakers, I would
Nobody cares about the next speaker.
Gentlemen in the left row, please take your seat.
He just blocked. Oh, look. There's nobody there. They're like, fuck it. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm done. This is useless. There's no reason for us to be here. Why are we even staying? He just lit a bomb in the UN and walked off. Oh my God. I had no idea this was going to be this much fun. I had no idea I was going to get up at 9:30 in the morning and just see the President of the United States roll a hand grenade into the United Nations. Literally, I mean, you know, metaphorically speaking, take napalm and just... They're like, what are we supposed to do? What? Tell me what we're supposed to do now. This guy just got up in front of everybody in the world. I'm only keeping this because I want to see who the next lost soul is that's got to go up and follow that. Hold on. Let's see this dude. Who is this?
His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Her Excellency, Madame Annalena.
Oh gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Composure. You know, you're doing news, Barry. You're not supposed to lose your composure like that. I didn't lose my composure. I was just enjoying the hell out of that. Whatever that was, we need that. Please pump that in my veins. If ever there was a time when you've heard the phrase "a new sheriff in town," that was the exemplary of it. There, wow. I've never seen anything like it. Right to their faces. Everything you're doing sucks. Your windmills, stick them up your butt. Your newcomers, you can take them with you too. And you can take your globalist and just, we don't care. And if we do business with me, you better come, because I only do business with people I like. So go ahead and talk trash about me. Otherwise, the rest of you, come on, we're going to meet back over here. And the room cleared out. How nutless does the Secretary General of the United Nations feel right now? I can't even imagine how you would feel after that speech. You thought you were going to stop him by stopping the teleprompter? You just made it worse. By having the teleprompter, at least he would have stayed on the words that somebody typed into the teleprompter that probably kept him on script. But you messed up and gave this dude the opportunity to ad lib and let stuff come out of his mouth that he's really thinking. And because you let him think and talk as he really feels, you got spanked. Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that. You should have not messed with the teleprompter. I'm sure Caroline Levitt and the other people in the office said, you know what, let's make this a nice speech. It'll be hard hitting, but at least it'll be nice. And one of the things you didn't see before, look at this, there's nobody there. They all left. We're like, we're done. Turn off the lights, turn off the big screen. We got nothing. What you didn't hear is before she was giving out the agenda and what was going on. She said every leader, every person talking will only have 15 minutes. An hour later, President Trump's like, you can stick that too. I'm talking. And I dare you to come try and yank me off the stage. Oh, by the way, my teleprompter broke, so now you're going to get the real Trump. And the real Trump's going to tell you what he thinks. And by the way, you guys in Venezuela, yeah. F you, and we're blowing up everybody you send in the water, okay? Just so you know. And if the rest of y'all try to send drugs into America, we're going to blow the F out of you too. You got me? All right, so just to keep things on pace, I just want to let you know, I don't know what's coming next. I don't think they know what's right now. They're taking a stand and 8 count. They're trying to figure if they need to tap out or what. It doesn't make any sense. So let me just share with you what's supposed to be happening later. All right, so let me put this up. By the way, if you guys ever want to know, hey, how does Barry know what's happening? How does Barry ever find out what's going on? They publish it. This page is called Roll Call, and Donald Trump's schedule, his supposed schedule, is always listed. Subject to change. Like this morning, I was going to go live at 11:30, and I had to go at 9:30 because it changed. But here's what they've got now. President Trump delivers his remarks to the General Assembly. He just did it at 10:08. Now the president participates in a bilateral meeting at 11:10. It is now 11:18, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to sign off or we're just going to pick the next thing up. And then at 1 o'clock, he has another bilateral meeting. So I don't, and then 2:30, he has a third bilateral or multilateral meeting. So I don't know which of these is going to be televised. The 11:10, I don't see anybody showing it right now. The 1 o'clock, and then again, there's a 2:30. This one seems to be closed press. And then tonight, 7:20, he gives a remark at the reception if they haven't told him to please stay away by that time of the day. So we've got a long day. I'm going to talk to you guys about a few things, and then I'll check and see if this 11:10 actually gets published and what's going on. And if not, then I'll shut down and come back on at about 1 o'clock. Okay. That being said, let me keep a monitor open in case he does come back out, and we'll see it. We'll jump to it. Whew. Wow. Never seen anything like that. We are Charlie. You're absolutely right. They're lined up out front to talk to our president. Someone brings some Big Macs and a Diet Coke. I ain't never seen nothing like that. I have never. They almost made Melania fall. That made him pissed off. Yeah, you can tell this man loves his wife. He didn't, it probably almost made him fall. That didn't bother him. You almost made my wife fall. Wow, what? And Satan was trying hard to intervene, but Yahweh said, not today, Satan. Wow. Oh, wow. All right. Barry, you're killing me. I'm sorry. It was all natural. I just couldn't help it. I've never seen anything like that whatsoever. Let me just check here because I was guffawing and laughing and missing SV and Ashley's text. Let's see here. Oh my God, that was SV said with the bell ringing. Bring out your dead. You're dead. Oh my God. All right. So I want to address a couple things while I'm monitoring to see if he comes back on before I go off. Hold on. Let me check my feeds and see if they've decided to. Oh, wow. People are going to be talking about that for quite some time. I'm looking to see. They don't have anything else booked into my feed source here. Ashley says C-SPAN is showing something. What is C-SPAN showing? C-SPAN is showing the 1 p.m. All right, so 1 p.m. We'll come back. We'll shut down after this. Get some lunch. Come on back at 1 p.m. And we'll have that feed as well. But something somebody said earlier, and I just gotta address this because I cannot believe people don't know this or they haven't seen the truth of it at all. But somebody posted this earlier. And it said, Barry, what do you think about the devil horns that Erica Kirk threw up as she was leaving the stage at Charlie's gathering? I'd look up the numerous signs of Scientology she has presented. All right, okay. Do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Stop following idiots. That's the best I can advise you. Stop following nut jobs. I don't know who else you trust or whatever, but if you think she was throwing up the devil's horns, you're following nut jobs. When people make this sign, I can't even believe we're having this talk of this right now. When people make this sign, this is not the devil's horns. This is known as 143, okay? This means I love you in sign language. When Robin and I, if she's across the field or something at an event or a flea market and I go like this, she knows that means I love you. I don't know what in the hell is wrong with people out there who are thinking, oh, she threw the devil's horns up. Get a grip. Seriously, get a grip. And I don't want to euphemize or give people a hard time if they just truly didn't know. What I'm giving a hard time is for the people who have perpetuated what they didn't know. When people have perpetuated the ignorance, and people who have posted who have amplified the ignorance. When all it would have taken is to just look at a picture of this and understand this is not the devil's horns. This means I love you. There are a number of hand signals that people have seen and have, think they mean the devil's horns. Like this one. You know what this one means? There's a couple different meanings for that one. The shaka, it also means hook 'em horns from the Texas Longhorns. Understand hand signals. If you don't, look them up before you promulgate a rumor. Don't just say, oh, she put up the devil's horns up there. Oh my gosh, what is she doing? Wow. I don't know how you've ever been in a relationship and haven't known that means I love you. It is such a simple signal. I mean, with my crampy football fingers, it's hard for me to make sometimes because my finger, that pinky doesn't straighten out. It's always got a perpetual curve to it now because of being stepped on playing football as a center, and it actually hurts for me to do that because of the arthritic hands. This one's a little bit better. Yeah, that one's a little bit better if I go like that and it's not as bent. But it's something in 32 years Robin and I have always like, what's up, babe? Got you, babe. It's all right, babe. Everything is fine. I love you. So to the people here in the audience who sat through my little laughing tantrum, I love you. That's all it means. Come on, man. Come on. Somebody says, thank you. A Canadian woman said that yesterday. She thought Erica did that. I chewed her out. Yeah. I know. Breathe. Okay, so what else we got here? C-SPAN at 1 o'clock. Sounds like something Candace Owens would say. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there are so many people out there who are lost in conspiracy. All right, so I got to bring some news to you, news that you're going to like. Yesterday you heard about this. Yesterday you heard that Disney was bringing, and ABC was bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. And everybody's like, oh, Jimmy Kimmel, like, nobody cares. But not so fast, my friends, as Lee Corso would say. Sinclair and Nexstar are the big affiliate owners. They own like 63 to like 75 stations. Disney is the distributor. Disney is the company that holds, actually ABC holds the rights, Capital City and Disney and all blah, blah, blah. They hold the rights. And then what they do is they take the programming and they offer it to various stations, like in your personal town. The ABC affiliate in your hometown is probably owned by an individual, a group, or a consortium like Nexstar and what's the other one that's called out there? Sinclair. Sinclair and Nexstar are the two biggest in the country. Unfortunately, yesterday Sinclair said, sorry, we're still not going to put out his show. You can put it out wherever you want. It ain't just airing on our stations. So that's a whole big bunch of stations that it's not going to air on. Number two, breaking news, Nexstar has also said, nope, not with us. So even though, I want you to just understand how big of a blow this is. He was only getting 100 to 150 viewers on the entirety of the affiliate network. Now the two biggest affiliates have said, we're not showing it. So he's probably going to get less viewers and will probably watch this video. That means over 60 ABC stations will not be airing Kimmel, as Sinclair has declined to bring him back as well. We made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel's life following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. We stand by that decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve. In the meantime, we note that Jimmy Kimmel will be available nationwide on multiple Disney-owned streaming products, while our stations will focus on continuing to produce local news and other programming relevant to their respective markets. So no, you can't come. You can't be on our networks. I have understood that to be the case, that one of the problems that they had was that they wanted Jimmy Kimmel to apologize to the Kirk family and make a donation to TPUSA, which I wouldn't foresee that he'd be interested in doing that at all. Let me see here. Ashley sent me this. President Trump, soon President Trump to tout United States as defender of Western civilization and decry the failures of globalism in a historic speech at the UN General Assembly. That you just heard, and that he just did. Absolutely. SV sends me something. It's some of his best lines compilation. So we got all that together. Something else a lot of you may not have much of an interest in, but me personally, or I personally, speaking correct English, really have an interest in this. And let me show you what has happened. This is absolutely monstrous. You guys know I've had to alter my language. I've had to make sure I didn't show certain things because they're going to censor it. You know that we've had a problem with music being played and they'd black that out. Well, it seems as though something behind the scenes is happening. This was breaking. Jim Jordan put this out. Due to our oversight efforts, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off of YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. Now, let me stop right there, because that means, I'm here, but that also means, well, he's working, but Dan Bongino's show could come back on. All the people who've been kicked off for talking politically and saying things that the big boys didn't want us to say are now welcome back. Again, that's going to really destroy the liberal media, because the voices who were stifled and couldn't speak are now going to be brought back. But that's not all, and this letter is too small for you to read, so let's just see what Jim Jordan says. YouTube also, and this is a big one, YouTube also admits the Biden administration's censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong. I'm sorry, what does that just say? YouTube admits the Biden administration's censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong. They confirm that the Biden administration wanted Americans censored for speech that did not even violate YouTube's policies. Okay, hold on a second. Have we not seen in the last couple of days the people on the left screaming about free speech and saying it would be wrong for a government to be involved in trying to censor free speech? And in the last couple of weeks, we've heard Mark Zuckerberg come out and say, yeah, they did it to me. And now we're hearing, Jim Jordan with Google waving the white flag going, yep, we did it too, because they kept doing it. This is details. When YouTube began rolling back its censorship policies on political speech after the judiciary began its investigation, states that public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities. promises to never use third-party fact-checkers again. Oh, the leftists. No wonder they all left the United Nations. We're done. We got nothing. It warns that Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech. Continuing, over the past few years, we have uncovered massive scandals relating to the big tech censorship. During the Biden-Harris years under White House pressure, YouTube changed its policies to censor political debate on COVID. Let's test it. Shall we test it? COVID. Let's test it and see if it's working yet. And elections. You mean fraudulent elections, where elections were stolen? I'm taking a big chance here. Today, YouTube admits that censorship pressure from Biden administration was unacceptable and wrong. Now, to make amends to the American people, and because of our work, YouTube is rolling back its censorship policies on political speech, including topics such as COVID and stolen elections. What does that mean? Whether you were an established YouTube presence with a massive following like Dan Bongino, or you're just starting out to express your political views, you will now have an opportunity to come back onto the platform if you were censored for engaging in political speech. This is another victory in the fight against censorship. In August 2024, Mark Zuckerberg wrote a committee letter saying the same thing. Even as Meta admitted the Biden-Harris censorship was wrong, others in big tech were reluctant to go on the record. Now, Google is acknowledging for the first time that it too faced censorship pressure from the Biden White House, and that said pressure was unacceptable and wrong. I'm not sure if you guys understand what just happened. The biggest tech company in the world, Google, which owns YouTube, just admitted that the Biden-Harris regime indeed censored free speech. Mark Zuckerberg admitted that the Biden-Harris regime censored free speech. You are now free to go about the country and telling every one of these libnuts to go pound effing sand. I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel, and nor do they care about me, but that's just it. We all now exist to say whatever we want, and it's up to the whims of the people we play with, the platforms we're on, for them to decide on their own. Understand what they just said. And don't take for an instance that YouTube and Google will flip a switch on their own. But the thing is, no longer are they going to do it under the oppressive watch of government. If YouTube doesn't like what I have to say, they may say, we don't like what you're saying. We don't want you showing the little girl on the train getting her head barely cut off. We don't want you to show people getting shot or show guns. We just hurts our fifis. But now it's not governmentally run. And so Jimmy Kimmel and Barry Cunningham and everybody else now understands you can say what you want. You have free speech, but you're under the auspices of the people who allow you to speak on their platform. Notice that little difference. It's very important for people to grab onto. You do not have free speech beyond the government staying out of it. We are all under a free speech umbrella that is going to be defined on the particular network, digital platform that you are on. YouTube could send me a letter in the next 10 minutes and said, Barry, although the government's not censoring you, we do not want to hear about that kind of stuff. Please do not talk about fraudulent elections. If you do, we're going to ding you. Okay, at least I know it's not government oppressed. Jimmy, you can say what you want about Charlie Kirk, but ABC and Sinclair and Nexstar have the same ability to say, we don't want it. So all the people out there running around talking about free speech, shut up. Completely shut the F up. companies, private companies, will now have the ability to dictate what they want on their networks. Period. Exclamation point, period. Done with it. Done with it. Forget about it. We now know, and I hope you guys understand that. I hope none of you have a problem with what you just heard, because now you understand how it actually works. I went through the entire free speech model before. A lot of people didn't think. You do not have free speech. You've never had free speech. You have this free speech based upon what you might want to see while you're scratching your belly in front of the television, and you can call anybody you see on the television any name you want. But if you're in someone else's living room, you can't do it. And I know some people, it makes their butt clench up because they think that they're being oppressed. You don't have free speech. You haven't had it for quite some time. Unless you go to some place where there's a soapbox and they're like, you can take your time and say whatever you want out here. Very few places like that. Very, very few places. Not a restaurant, not a movie theater, not a department store, not a car dealership. Nope, anything owned by somebody else, they have the right to tell you to go screw yourself. Now that we've got that, can we move on and understand that? Free speech was censored. It is so funny. The very first thing I look over, it's like, seriously, bro? Seriously, ma'am? I can't help you. Yeah, exactly. You have free speech. It's just not free of consequences. Yeah, I think about it. If your 12-year-old or 11-year-old kid came home and he looked at you and said, F you, Dad. Oh, he had the right to say it. He absolutely had the right to say it. He's also got the right for what's going to happen after he says it. Free speech was meant to protect people from being assaulted for speaking their mind, not to protect verbal assaults. Exactly. Yeah. Fox News says Next Star won't air Kimmel either. Did you just log on, or did you miss like the last 10 minutes? Ooh, oh, okay. Oh, sometimes. All right, so who's speaking now? Looks like the guy speaking now is the guy who was trying to trash Trump earlier, Erdogan from Turkey. What's he holding up here? What is that? Hold on. What I do in my ears? I already put. Screw him. I don't care about him anymore. Nobody else is talking. There's no free speech in Barry's YouTube group. This is a private chat. Yep, very much so. Yeah. He had the right to get an ass whooping too. Yeah, we all do. Trump called him out. He sure did. Absolutely. All right. So 1 o'clock. It looks like President Trump is. He actually was due to speak right now. I'm looking at all the different things. It says he might hold a bilateral meeting soon. Whatever that means. Let me just check something else. I think C-SPAN said 1 o'clock. My sources say, let's see. Let me do some looking and I'll be right back. In the interim, I don't know if you guys have seen today. I'll look real quick and check this out. But really important. I've been talking to you guys for quite some time. Well, those of you guys who wanted to listen to me, about Lear Capital and gold and silver. And this happened today. This morning, right while before we came on. All-time high. Gold hit an all-time high of $3,800. An all-time high of $3,800. Silver taken off. Everything is gold, silver. It's all taking off. President Trump mentioned prosperity twice while he was speaking. These globalists at the United Nations, they don't want prosperity. And there's a few people on our side who seemingly are afraid of prosperity. don't be. We're going to talk about that in a second.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver.
This is a central objective of the amendment, and we have been going north and south, east and west, in all possible situations, getting or trying to get ceasefires, alleviating tensions, making peace agreements, or the building blocks of peace agreements. And I want to reassure you that the United Nations, from me to our teams on the ground, to our missions, we are entirely at your disposal to be able to work together for a just peace in the world, based on our common values.
Thank you very much.
The Constitution of the United States. Right. And one thing is, for me, extremely important, is that the suffering, the horrible suffering of millions of people in the world can be stopped. Right. And we fully appreciate your engagement in that regard.
Thank you very much. It's always an honor to be here. We've done this before, and this was a little more exciting because of the escalator and the teleprompter, but these things happen. But I will tell you that your people have treated us with great respect. Our country is behind the United Nations 100%. I think the potential of the United Nations is incredible, really incredible. It can do so much. So I'm behind it. I may disagree with it sometimes, but I am so behind it because I think the potential for peace with this institution is so great. So I just want to thank you for treating us so warmly. We very much appreciate being with you.
Great pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Guys, keep moving. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
All right, that was it. I thought they were going to spend a little bit of time, but that was the entirety of their meeting that they were willing to show on screen. So I am going to let's see here. I'm checking a couple things else. I was ready to go, but I can't believe that was only like a 10-minute meeting. Very interesting. Very interesting that they only showed. So it wasn't like we got in late. That was the entirety of the meeting, or that was basically probably the beginning of the meeting, and they did some talking, and then they're going to go out. So what it seems like is going to happen is that they're going to have these introductory meetings and let the press come in, and then they're going to close the door and have a meeting, and then they'll probably have something on the way out, and it might be like this all day. But I obviously, what the heck is going on here? I obviously don't want you guys to have to. Is this something else, or did it restart? Oh, it just restarted. Okay, I'm just looking. Pretty crazy. Hold on. Let me check something just to make sure it's not starting he's not starting a different meeting.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so they have another one on deck that's due to start any second now. This is with the leader of Brazil. So we're going to be, I'll take some questions until this comes on, but it looks as though the leader of Brazil is going to be up next. And when he comes up, we will take that as well. It was supposed to start in 3 minutes ago, so let's see where he's going with that. Not really sure, but in any event, we shall wait and see what comes next. Wait a minute, I'm just making sure everything's set to go, and you'll hear it as soon as it happens, so we'll all know it's happening. Wow, a lot of stuff happening. Ashley has this from the United Nations. President Trump, I guess, posted this right after he got off. It says, it is always an honor to speak at the United Nations, even if their equipment is somewhat faulty. He's letting her know he wasn't happy about that. It was a great honor to speak. I believe the speech was very well received. It focused very much on energy and immigration. I've been talking about this for a long period of time, and the forum was the absolute best from the standpoint of making these two important statements. I hope everybody gets to watch it. The teleprompter was broken and the escalator came to a sudden halt as we were riding up to the podium. But both of those events probably made the speech more interesting than it would have been otherwise. It is always an honor to speak at the United Nations, even if their equipment is somewhat faulty. Make America great again. Ooh, well, you know what it was. Somebody has a picture of the United Nations Attorney General pulling the plug on the teleprompter, and then of course you get the FAO. Oh boy. All right, so here's what I'm going to do, because we've been going for 2.5 hours right now. And you guys probably have to go eat or something. I got to go eat. They're saying 1 o'clock. So let's go ahead and plan for another one at 1 o'clock. I just don't, hold on here. What is this? Is this new or, oh, wait a minute. Let me just check something. Is this, no, it looks like they're doing a taped version of it. Yeah, that's old. All right. So yeah, that's, wait 1 second. I'm seeing like the things happen. No, that's just RSBN and a couple people taking an old feed. That's not a new feed. All right, so if he talks to the president, or when he talks to the president of Brazil, I will have a tape for it, or whatever happens between now and 1 p.m. So 1 p.m., let's plan on being back here at that point and take it from there. And then we'll see what happens tonight, what he's got planned. But before I go, let me go ahead and do super chats, if any. But we can plan on being, wait a minute, SB's giving me the text here. Yep, I'm getting ready to do super chats right now before we cut. And then we can all go do lunch and come back here at 1 o'clock. See, that was one of the reasons why I had to change up this early this morning and last night, because obviously he's doing meetings with people, international people all over the place, and we don't know what's happening. If he was supposed to come out at 11:15 and he's stuck talking to this person, I can only imagine what his schedule is like backstage right now. So probably kind of hectic. I would bet it's kind of hectic after that speech and what he did with people. So we'll reconvene at 1 o'clock. In the interim, let me do super chats, and I will see you shortly thereafter. All right. Carmen Flores. I used to know a Carmen Flores. Oh, wow, thank you. It can't be the same person. David Yeoman, tomorrow is coming soon. Well, yeah, I almost got out of here, didn't I? And hold on. It looks like they're warming up the feed for this next meeting. So don't go anywhere yet. Oh, wait a minute. It must be imminent because they're messing with the feed. So let me just keep going. That way I can catch up with Super Chats. Yeah, it's about to come on. I can tell it's about to come on. Let me put this window up so I can see if it happens. All right, Carmen Flores. I'm actually gonna. We have to click on you. David Yeoman tomorrow's coming soon. Trudy Saxton. Thank you, Barry, for morning news. Thank you for coming on. David Yeoman. Let's talk more action. Marco Rubio. Staten 2033. Well said by a true authoritarian. These leftists are not giving up. Trump will bring bricks to the sneeze. God bless the USA and the Trump administration. Absolutely. Just another knucklehead. Thank you. $10 for Big Daddy. DJT is a rock star. Agreed. He is dropping something big on the UN right now, too. Big, huge. Again, it looks like it's warming up because I can see how they're getting focused and everything. Staten 2033, give them hell. Don't let them up for air this time. Take them out of the USA. Defund them now. This is a colossal waste of time and money. Absolutely. I couldn't believe they all just walked up and got up and left. 1776 Viking. The UN just got spanked. God bless my president, Donald Trump. I can't wait to hear tonight how the liberal media is. Oh, okay, hold on. We got something else going on. I guess they're back, boys. All right, here we go. We'll see what happens. No volume yet. Still waiting for volume. Volume. Oh, I think I turned the volume down. Hold on.
The United States was absolutely central in the founding of the UN, and for decades we have relied on the United States as our major political and financial supporter, thanks to the generosity of the American people, which we are very grateful about. On the other hand, I believe there are many areas where we can cooperate in a positive way, and I would think that the most important is peace. You have selected peace as a central objective of your mandate, and you have been going north and south, east and west, in all possible situations, getting or trying to get ceasefires, alleviating tensions, making peace agreements, or the building blocks of peace agreements. And I want to reassure you that the United Nations, from me to our teams on the ground, to our missions, we are entirely at your disposal to be able to work together for a just peace in the world, based on our common values.
Thank you very much.
The Constitution of the United States.
Right.
And one thing is, for me, extremely important, is that the suffering, the horrible suffering of millions of people in the world can be stopped.
Right.
And we fully appreciate your engagement in that regard.
Well, thank you very much. It's always an honor to be here. We've done this before, and this was a little more exciting because of the escalator and the teleprompter, but these things happen. But I will tell you that your people have treated us with great respect. Our country is behind the United Nations 100%. I think the potential of the United Nations is incredible, really incredible. It can do so much. So I'm behind it. I may disagree with it sometimes, but I am so behind it because I think the potential for peace with this institution is so great. So I just want to thank you for treating us so warmly. We very much appreciate being with you.
Great pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we had seen that already. I don't know why they just replayed it. So they're trying to burn time until 1 p.m. as well. So let me get through the super chats, and so they can all regroup and we can not see the same thing twice and move on. All right, where was I with the super chats? Here we go. Okay, do we have this up? Yeah. All right, 1 second here. Let me move this here. You guys can go to lunch and we can figure out what's going to be happening at 1 o'clock, which is only an hour from now, so we'll be able to see more happening. I love it that the feed people are scrambling as well. All right, where did I leave off? Delafin, all the bells ring and remind me of Bring Out Your Dead. That's what SV said, Bring Out Your Dead. C-Mills, Barry should have the song Ring My Bell. I didn't know that was going to be happening. In your opinion, what would happen if we pull out of NATO? What would happen to who? See, that's the other part you have to of your question. Well, what would happen to who? Well, we'd save money. We'd be fine, obviously. So I don't know who you're talking about. Mary Boston, President Trump did a great job putting that UN on blast. I saw the escalator stop. DJT did a great job telling them that they sent those migrants to us. Susan Brooke, mic drop, too funny. That was a serious mic drop. Beverly Litton, what happened to the escalator? That's what he's talking about. He keeps letting people know that bothered him. Just another nugget. We should vote that lady off the island. Devil's horns. Oh my gosh. I hope Beverly Litton, I hope Trump brought his own lunch and his own water. Lady Addie, go Barry, say it loud. Tommy Juanito Janico. I remember those days when Facebook would have the fact checkers in Facebook jail. By the way, Barry, you'll make me laugh so hard that I almost bust a gut. One day I'll get to meet you in person. I have family in Palm Bay. All right, we'll come on down. Just checking the screens. And Trudy Saxon, much love to the Fanfare family. Much love to you as well. All right, everybody. I'm going to put the after party on, which will probably take us to right about 12:30. And if by chance they come back on while the after party's up, I'll bring it right back up. If not, I'll make sure there's a 1 o'clock link for you to check out. All right, talk to you guys real soon. Busy day. Don't know what's ahead.
Bye.